You have to have a bit of a tunnel vision about where you want to go. And I always say, you might be trying to head straight, but then, things don't always go the right way. So you might have to stop for a little bit, have a little rest, and then get up and go again. And you might have to go sideways. You might have to take a few crossroads. But if you're focused, then you will get there.
Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Daily Soul Bytes Show. I am your host, Bola Abimbola. And this is the show where we interview expert authors, coaches, and entrepreneurs who are sharing their insights and expertise for the expansion of collective consciousness in the areas of spirituality, leadership, and psychology. And today, my guest is Sherry Dixon. Welcome to the show, Sherry.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Bola. Thank you.
You have been one of my most inspirational sisters, I have to say. I've known you for nearly 20 years. And
Yeah.
we were introduced by Stan Washington. Stan was the editor at the Atlanta Voice in the US. So it's really nice to reconnect, after all these years.
And even although we didn't speak often, you still would send a message or, a WhatsApp message, whatever. We still kept in touch over those 19 years, and quite often, this, how you doing? How you doing? I can't see your face, but at least we kept in touch. And that, I think that was, I think it's a divine connection because we never stopped. Supporting each other at
Mm,
all. He supported me when I was a
mm.
magazine editor, and when you printed some cards, I was like, "Oh my God, she's done this for me!" You asked me to send the thing, and you printed it. That's what you call a soul sister, right?
Mm. Yes,
Thank
I
you.
love you to bits. I love you to bits, sis. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming. I want to read a bit about you so people know about you before we start.
Okay.
Sherry Dixon is a very international motivational speaker, founder of Women on the Crossroads. She was beauty editor in the UK, with Pride magazine for 7 years before she became editor for 3 years. And she has over 30 awards. And some of them are, in 2008, she was patron for the National Black Women's Network. She was also editor in chief of She Caribbean. She was the winner of the 2016 Outstanding Career Achievement Award. This is from the media category. Women of Excellence Special Recognition Award in 2017. In 2019, she was appointed as director of Guyana's first Women Chambers of Awards, Chambers of Commerce and Industry. And in 2021 was honorary degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Humanities. 2022 recipient of the iconic awards from the Extraordinary Achievements Award. And in 2022, the Powerhouse Global Award. And that was for Motivational Speaker of the Year.
Yeah.
So this for me is really about purpose, about leadership, about women's empowerment. This is why I really wanted you to come and talk with us today. Because the funny thing about this is, can we take gender out of our success? This is key. Because a lot of us think that, there is definitely a glass ceiling. And some of us think that really when you focus on yourself and your career, there is no ceiling. And everybody's theme is different. But I would love to hear how you, as an international motivational speaker and a leader who focuses
Mhm.
on women's empowerment, has really experienced this journey in terms of um, as a woman, how have you really found your purpose? And what is the one thing or the few things you would advise for women who are going through this journey as leaders in whatever profession? How to be inspired and how to step forward as leaders and as women successfully.
I like that question. I believe that there is no ceiling for me. I believe that I could, I could get to wherever I want to. And that is for that reason, I'll explain why. Because when I was working, I worked in PR before I went into beauty. And I remember them saying to me, oh, you should do stuff about Black beauty, because we didn't have anybody else covering Black beauty properly. We had good writers, but not speakers and the person that can do it as well. And I remember saying, yeah, I can target that. I don't like what Lorraine Kelly's saying about skin. I don't like what the Vogue is saying about Black skin. And I decided that I was going to be the person who changed the dynamics and dispel some myths that was out there about women's particularly, and our makeup and our skin and our hair. And I chose to write, first of all, to our own Black press to say to them, you need to do a women's page, a women's column. All I'm reading about is cricket and a man kill a man. And I remember the woman saying, well, if you could do it, why don't you? And I said, yes, I can. In my family, we say I can and I will, and that was long before Obama. And so therefore I wrote the article. I got a friend who was a photographer to take the pictures, and I presented it effectively, because I can't remember I think it was 2000 and something. No, 1995, I think it was. And basically they said, oh, love it. Absolutely love it. And they printed it. And that was the beginning of my journalistic career. They did that one. And then every couple of weeks I'd write something else about us, why we can wear bright red lipstick as we are, and why we can and why we shouldn't just be in browns and dumbing down ourselves, why we can show our breasts because we have them, and why shouldn't we show them, all things like that. I just chose the subject that I know that we want to talk to. Well, I wanted to talk to my Black women about, because that was the days of curly perm, I think. Anyway, it happened. Then somebody else called me. I think Black Beauty in Hair called me, and somebody else called me, and I ended up getting columns in Cosmopolitan, Girl About Town, the Giveaway magazine, and at one point it was quite embarrassing because I had stories or articles in so many magazines at the same time, and I projected that was going to happen because they're lazy to write, and they didn't have anybody to write about Black skin, and I was qualified as a qualified beautician, so I could write about Black skin, and I was a makeup artist as well. All these things I did on the side. So I projected what I wanted the outcome to be, because sooner or later I stopped doing makeup on people and I went into writing. And with writing, you have a bigger audience, where the magazine was, say, 70,000 or whatever it was. Basically, that's the amount of people times 3, because it would go into the hairdressers, and if it's a woman at home bought it, it's read by 2 or 3 people. It's never just the person who has it. It's the family at home that read it. So, in fact, I became bigger by being a beauty, health, and lifestyle editor for Pride magazine than I did, just being a makeup artist for one. But so I knew the direction I wanted to go. I did make up some celebrities like lots of people, but I'm only pulling out Luther Vandross, and then Luther Vandross people told Barry White's people, and then I know I did Diana Ross, and
Mandela.
Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela. I remember.
The first time I met him, I actually put powder on his face, and they were trying to say he didn't need it, and he looked at me and he says, with that wink that he does, and he says, "Do you think I need it?" with his head tilted like that. And I said, "Well, you don't, but let's do it for me. Like, let's just do it for the camera." And we did it. And as he was leaving, they were ushering him out, and he turned back and he said, "Thank you. Thank you so much." And that was really nice. And then the next time I met him, I was now not beauty editor. I was editor, and they'd flown me to Cape Town. No, it was Johannesburg, to do an interview with him. So projection, I did Dr. Maya Angelou, all those things about the mind. Her questioning her was about all the things that I'm doing now. You are what you believe, and why do you believe that you could change people's mindsets, and why should they listen to you? It was quite an obnoxious questioning, but sometimes by doing that, they come for you, they give you all what you need. And I think that you have to come back to the question, you have to have a bit of a tunnel vision about where you want to go. And I always say, you might be trying to head straight, but then, things don't always go the right way. So you might have to stop for a little bit, have a little rest, and then get up and go again. And you might have to go sideways. You might have to take a few crossroads. But if you're focused, then you will get there. Even if you might run out of money, depends on what your project is. You might run out of money, you might not have anybody backing you, because we all know when you're an entrepreneur, that's the hardest area. Nobody believes in you. They just think, why don't you just sit down and watch TV or something? So I think, in answer to your question, you have to have that belief in self. And you have to have the thirst and the energy to want to do it. So if you're sitting there watching the TV, that's okay. But when you get up, then get back to the journey that you're on, find out a little bit more research. And sometimes you go off to do things and there's something happens, an obstacle, you bump your toe, you fall down on your knees. And my whole thing is, well, while you're down on your knees, take a little breather, take a little breath, and think about, when you get back up, how are you going to tackle this subject again? But just don't give up. Just don't give up. And I think that's what got me through the journey of my own ladder then. Forget the corporate ladder, it was my ladder. And I got through some big doors.
I love
As
it.
you know. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And I love the way, thank you so much for sharing that. I love the way you really honed in on what you were passionate about, which was beauty. At the very start, you knew what you enjoyed and you focused on that. Because that's really where it starts from, you see. Success starts from really not judging those things, because some people may have felt, oh, beauty, why are you not going for other professions? Why beauty? Why doing something? Why doing this? And just being very focused on what we enjoy is so key. What are the
Yeah.
things that we are, that we are passionate? Because that passion is what keeps that drive going. So that
Yes.
is because I got that from what you were saying. That passion was there and you owned it, you accepted it, and you began to look for opportunities and you began to prepare yourself. You went for qualifications on beauty. You prepared yourself
Yeah.
in
I
that
got
in
that.
that aspect. And
Yeah.
then preparation, you found opportunities that came around you,
Yeah.
because really there's nothing about luck. This is about how when we get prepared, we meet opportunities, we step into the opportunities, and we definitely find that opportunities continue to show up. And it's about how prepared we are, how
Yeah.
determined we are. And we do hit crossroads. I love
Yes.
that you have an organization called Women on the Crossroads. I
Yeah.
remember when you started Women on the Crossroads, and you said this organization is for women who will hit crossroads, because we all, and crossroads are not a one time thing. They
No.
come at different levels, another level, another level. And it's really about what do we do? And I love the way you said something about when you hit a crossroad, don't stay down, get back up. look around you, because we all have ups and downs. You know,
Yeah,
life is a roller coaster, and we all just gotta ride it somehow. And
exactly.
you know, and so I do love that, and I did want to bring us back to that point of believing in our own self, because in a world where we are not encouraged to do that, in a world that is patriarchal, in a world where the woman is seen as less, and most women feel that they are not complete without a man. And there is that tendency to seek relationships, no matter how toxic, rather than focusing on self. And I know I've been through that. It's taken me a long time to come to a place where I can feel grounded, secure, and safe on my own. This is
Yeah.
a personal side of things, apart from our own ambitions. But sometimes that personal side, we have to talk about that personal side.
Yes,
We have
yes.
to talk about how we must come to a place where, whether we are single, whatever relationship status we have, it doesn't stop us from that self agency.
Mhm.
Because you may be going in a very good direction in your career, you're doing so well, and then someone comes along, or there is a niggly feeling that you want to be with someone,
Yeah.
and we lose direction for a moment. That is something I would love your advice for us as women, because sometimes we create these crossroads through
Yeah.
choices, through contracts, through relationship that we have put ourselves in. And it's about, how do we begin to realize that our personal side, our personal existence,
Mhm.
number one, is number one. That belief in self, standing in our own agency, is number one. And everything else, every single relationship, whether it's personal, whether it's career, comes after that.
Mhm.
Would love to hear your own experiences and how you have come to own your own powerful self agency. In this beautiful, you sent me a picture of your home overlooking the beach. I thought, oh my goodness, this is beautiful.
Yeah, I know, I know. I send people that because I think quite easily you can use it as a backdrop in, your screenshot, right?
No, I love to share the goodness of my life as well. No, this is lovely. Yes.
Okay. So one of the things that I think about, and I want to talk about relationships with regard to this, because this, when you start your own business, the person that is beside you, if you're in a relationship, but it's man and man, woman and woman, it's called relationship. And the problem that we have is that sometimes our energy and our thirst to go forward, sometimes we're moving so fast that the other person feels left behind. What I have learned is that you have to share the energy with that person, and it's not going to be which I know I did anyway. I can speak for myself. It's just like, oh, I've got a booking, and I'm going to make up Luther Vandross, and I'm making up Barry White, and I'm in a marriage, but that person doesn't feel like part of it. They were there when you were learning. They were there at the beginning, but then suddenly you're shooting. And it's okay for us, I think, to say, well, they should support us, but we have to talk to them. We have to ask, or not beg. There's a difference between ask and beg, but we need to say, look, this thing is shooting off. I'm not going to spend as much time. I will, of course, I want us to still be on the same page, because quite often we're not on the same page. I've gone ahead and left that person behind, and it's their number one insecurity, which perhaps we as women would have if our partners were going off and doing their own thing, and I have no idea where they are, what they're doing. Why do they prefer to be out the house doing their makeup thing rather than being here with me? And that's because I didn't share my journey. I didn't share
Mm.
the thing that I wanted to propel and go into. That's one of the areas that I think that we need to look at. I'm not saying that it's always accepted very well. That person could actually put you off. And this is where I go into about relationships with family or friends. Sometimes friends, not sometimes, quite a lot of friends don't support you because you're
Mm.
stepping out. It's like a marriage. You're actually stepping out of being friends with them. First, you sit around and talk about the price of persil and sugar and bread and stuff like that. And now you're not bothered about that. You've gone off and you're doing, you're looking at your Chanel this and should I get this red lipstick? I'm talking about Chanel is better than YSL and I've left them behind because they're not in that world. So make sure, I would say, that you look at don't say that your friends are all jealous and they're not supporting you. Just understand the journey that you're on and where you're going to be leaving them behind. And maybe some of them is worth leaving behind because they're never going to support you. They want to party on a Friday night and you want to sit down and read more about the product that you're going to be promoting to
Mm.
elevate yourself. And you will lose some of them along the way. And that's okay. That's okay. I think, and lastly, the relationship with yourself, it should have been the first one, but the relationship with yourself. Understand your new journey, understand your new thirst, understand that the direction that you're going in, there are many days that the glass is half empty, but then
Mm.
look at it another way, it's half filled,
Mm.
because you're spending money, sometimes investing money to go into the area that you want to become an expert in. In my
Mm.
case, it was all these different makeup brands. And I had to have the YSL, as I said, the Chanel, and I wasn't just doing black people in the beginning. So I had to have I spent double money. And you have to understand self. Why am I doing this? What do I want out of this? And have
Mm.
your clear goals and your clear directions so that you know that what you're putting in, the money that you're spending, for example, in learning, going to courses, all these different things, are basically what you can afford to invest in yourself. Because what's the
Mm.
point of investing in yourself and then just throwing it away? It's
Yes.
got to have a reward somewhere along the line. So invest in yourself, understand yourself in the sense of not giving up. Some people start off and they give up when things go wrong. Understand this; it will go wrong many a times.
Mm.
And you'll do things and you'll do it wrong. And even as a magazine editor, I editor being the word, and I've missed a word, or there's somebody's misspelled a word and I didn't pick it up. And you have pain in your heart for days if you've got any pride. Uh, get the pun, pride. But if you've got any pride, it shouldn't be a setback. It should just be the next goal for you
Yeah.
to must remember, must tick that box, all the must that you must do. And if you work pretty hard at your goals, right, you will succeed.
Mm.
I know it for a fact. If you work
Mm.
pretty hard, obviously it depends on the item and the subject. But I think that most people I know, they wanted to do what I did and they did it. I managed to
Mm.
do it two ways. I was actually physically a makeup beauty person. I can make products and stuff like that. And then when I'm making up the Luther Vandross, see people and he's got this spot or this mark, I'll be like, listen, you need to put toothpaste on that, or you need to do this, or you need to do that. And so I could share from the beauty side to somebody else. I was always mentoring. So
Mm.
it makes sense that I'm where I am today because I was always writing from personal point of view, like we can do this, we can do this. Yeah, a man's left you, which we had many of those articles. A man has left you, but you know what? Yeah, cry, sleep, cry, go back to your bed. Yes, do all those things because it's quite natural to do it. But then after a few days or few weeks, get out the bed, shower, put on your clothes. And even if you have to go to the cinema by yourself or the theater by yourself, just walking out the door will make you feel better. So it's about
Mhm.
working on you, injecting a lot of self awareness in you. I think you need to work on yourself first. So I did it back to front, but on yourself first.
Mhm.
But don't be self-centered.
Yes, yeah.
And that's what the problem that we have at the moment with some
Mhm.
people. They're self-centered.
Yeah.
You know, we can have the partner and we can have the children and find the time for those people, but try to look out for yourself first. Because if you're not doing well or your mindset is not right, then you can't be any good to anybody, including your
Mhm.
work and including the relationships, you know?
Yes, powerful, powerful. That word investment in self, because yes, we have to be full. We have to be full. We have to have our cups filled before we can pour anything that is meaningful, that is of
Yes.
value out of that cup. And that
Yeah.
cup has to be beautiful. That cup has to be
Yeah.
healed. The healing is so key. I would
Yes.
love to know what spiritual practice you have had over the years because there's so many different modalities. I mean, I
Yeah.
currently have four coaches. I have my energy coaches. I have I have a food coach. A food
Yeah.
coach that's helping me to manage what I'm eating, because
Right.
it's about being honest with our own self.
Yes.
We are perfectly imperfect, in the way that we are learning. We're learning and we're students, we're also teachers. And,
Mhm.
as we are getting to master one level, we're also learning to understand some new territory. And then we're going to become masters again. And it's from level to level. And I would love for you to share that because that attitude of a learning mindset is so key, not a fixed mindset, a mindset that is always learning, a mindset that is investing in self to heal the trauma. We've all had some level of trauma
Yeah.
in the past, and trauma is not just childhood; it's sometimes teenage years. It goes on to
Yeah.
adulthood.
You're going to have many of those crossroads, right?
Yes, yes, yes. And some crossroads are quite painful
Yes.
crossroads. And it's always about getting back up. But some of the tools that you have found helpful for yourself, um, because this is about inspiring and encouraging us as women and men to really look at healing as part of our day to day. It's not just about doing, following the goals, taking the actions, listen to the mentor, listen to the coach. There's a lot of healing that we need to do to get that inner child to be much more secure, much more safe, much, much
Yeah.
happier. Um, what would you advise, or what would you be happy to share around the practices that you have found helpful in your journey in terms of healing because those parts limit us.
Yes.
When we do not heal, we do not live as the empowered beings that we truly are.
Yeah.
And this is something I wanted to you to share with us today.
Okay. I'll share with you one of my hindrances, I should call it hindrances. I grew up with my grandmother because my mother had me when she was 15 or something like that. And then she carried on having more children, as they do, more children, more children. So my grandmother took me. So I grew up on my own. But there came a time when I'm looking on at the other children living with my parents, and I didn't see that I was privileged. They thought I was privileged living with my grandmother and grandfather. I wanted to be with them. I wanted to jump the donkey cart. I wanted to play bat and ball or whatever the things. I wanted to climb the guinea tree or mango tree. Those are the things that I would have preferred to do. My grandmother kept me sort of like, no, that's not for you. You know, you're a little lady. And so I always did things to please my father, particularly, because I think my father was the person I had the most use the word issue or challenges with, because he was an outspoken man, very outspoken man. And so I was always doing well in class because of him, doing this because of him, or him and my aunt. They were the strong people in the family. And I think I got to, I am sure in marital age that I was found myself still doing things to please them. And then I thought, why? I think my coach, I had a coach then, and I remembered her saying, sometimes you have to divorce your family in order to find self. And I was like, divorce my family? That seems a bit harsh. But do you know what? She was actually right,
Yes.
because I don't think that I knew me. I think I did everything proper because of those people, my dad and my auntie, because my mum died when I was young. And I did things to please them. So what I would say is that you have to find out what is your hiccups, what is your biggest beef with yourself, and pinpoint that and work on that area before you can move on to anything else. Because if you're attracted to narcissists, for example, when you get rid of this one, you'll always go for another one, or you'll have a narcissistic friend, or you'll have somebody who's always giving you trouble, because you're attracting that. You're attracting that kind of companion, per se. So when I worked on self, even though I was climbing many ladders, when I worked on self by having myself a mentor. That's when I started to grow as Sherry Ann Dixon, not Sherry Dixon, Sherry Ann Dixon, because I now knew what I liked, what I wanted, what I didn't like. I spoke up about the things that they would say, I don't like your hair, and I had locks. I'm like, no, I'm keeping it because I like looks. I love it. And if they said something else that I didn't like, I'll say, I'm disappointed. I started to choose words, not like probably back in the day when I go, you know, yeah, you're always moaning, and then I come away all fretting and feeling aggrieved about how the things that people were saying to me. What I learned was what they think of me does not matter. What I think about myself does matter. And that's when I learned to like my looks and not be asking them permission to have it at an older age. I still meet lots of women. I mentor lots of women who are still aggrieved by the way somebody's treating them. It could be that they're overweight and somebody will say to them, you can pass through that door. It's a joke to that person, but that person would always make jokes about you. And I have to tell them, so are you happy about not passing through that door because you've got wider? That's the joke. You've got wider. You have to learn you have to pick your battles, right? You have to pick your battles and work on the area that you feel really, you don't feel so good at. And I'm in a good place because I've tackled those battles. I don't care what some of them say. And if I do care enough, I will tell them. I will say, I heard you said this, or I heard that you thought this. Let me explain to you why I maybe I'm trying to think of a situation, but why I don't care. You telling me about me doesn't really upset me, because when I make that choice to go into beauty, to leave corporate, go into beauty, and then go into becoming a magazine editor. And then now I've gone into being a motivator. It doesn't mean that I'm chopping jobs. It looks as if I'm chopping jobs, but what I'm doing is evolving into the
Yes,
person I should have been in the first place. But
yes,
they didn't have motivational speakers on the list of things in the job center back in the day.
yes, true.
They didn't have those. They didn't even have life coaches then, because perhaps if they did, I would have gone in that direction. But
Mm,
while I was making up people, a lot of women who went through domestic violence, I can think of two that came to me, and they found the person that they could talk to and say, this is what's happening to me. And I was able to say, well, you know what? You don't have to keep booking makeup classes to come. Here's the number, just call me.
mm,
So that is my spiritual journey. My
mm,
journey is helping others
mm,
to be
mm,
the best that they can be.
mm.
That's my spiritual
Oh,
journey.
I love that. I love that. I love the way you kept nurturing the passions that you had, and you were honest with yourself. You were
Mm-hmm.
honest with yourself to know that there are certain things that I need to do, and it's not easy divorcing our family. It's not easy speaking up, because it's one thing to know what we want. It's another thing for us to really step up our boundaries and maintain them. So when somebody crosses our boundaries, to be able to really um, communicate in a way that we will be heard, not in a
Yeah,
way that becomes um, quite toxic, but in a
yeah,
way that we will be heard. Because this is what emotional intelligence is really us being able to communicate in a way that, does not leave us feeling regret,
yeah,
shameful, or angry. We can have these emotions, but it's learning how to communicate it, respecting ourselves and respecting others. And I love how you have really gone through this with your family and with your colleagues, being able to hold your hair, being able to hold your career. And we know that whatever it is that we have started from childhood, we are being prepared for
yeah,
different sections of our journey. And I always say nothing is wasted. No experience is ever wasted. We're on a journey, and this is important, I think, for me to say that we will end up having. I've had four careers in my life,
okay,
I've always had different things going on. So it's important not to be too fixed, to know that we're very dynamic beings, we're multidimensional beings, and we will
yes,
have different passions and different interests. And being connected with our own self every moment in the present. What do I really want? What am I really enjoying right now? What is
yeah,
important to me? And using the spiritual tools, because we're spiritual beings, using
yes,
the tools that we
yeah,
have around us, and most importantly, your mentors, the coaches around us.
yeah,
And you were one of the powerful coaches that a lot of women use. Tell us a bit more about what you're doing at the moment. Those who want to connect with you, I know you have some events coming up, but for those who
yeah,
want to connect with you, how do they connect with you as their mentor? Because you do have that as something that you offer to women coming up at the
yeah.
moment.
I mentor online. I mentor online because I want to travel. I placed myself in Barbados so that I can get to St. Lucia. I can get to Trinidad. It's a good sort of hub, isn't it? Um, and I started in 2017 at talks evenings with Sherry Ann Dixon, or whatever you want to call it. But I put myself out there that I was going to talk to you. I started it in London, but because I wanted to leave London and have a break, as you call it, I didn't want to retire, wanted a break. So I came and I sat here, and then I celebrated my 70th birthday in August 22. August 22. And one of the questions people keep saying is, why are you not doing your talks here? Why are you not doing your workshops here? So I want to say I mentor online, and people could get hold of me. They could go to my website, which is all the W sherryanndixon.com. Or they can go to my Facebook page, which is Dr. Sherry Ann Dixon, and send me a message via Messenger. It's easy. Just
Yes. Oh, yes.
always wanted to say that. Google my name.
You are very accessible. You are very
Yeah,
accessible.
accessible.
And also, you're also on Women on the Crossroads.
Yes, and I have Women on the Crossroads. So what I'm doing is on International Women's Day, it was important to me to do the breaking in Barbados. I'm having an evening with Sherry Ann Dixon in celebration of International Women's Day. And we're doing that because it's about inclusion. Part of the theme there is about inclusion. And we said that we being the other two ladies that I've invited, because remember, I never do something just on my own. I always send the elevator back down. That's my thing. So I have two other ladies who are younger than me, and they're both great inspirational speakers, and they're going to join me on that day. And we're going to be at the Marriott in Christchurch, and we're going to talk about from their business coaches. I'm probably the one that deals with being the best that you can be as you climb up that ladder, because there are so many of us, and I'm speaking to women at this point, who climb up the ladder, but you keep leaving your sister behind. And yet we're talking about sisterhood. It's not working. It's not working, because we should be doing mentoring with other young people. Yes, they do have to pay, but if they want something, they will pay for it. And it's up to you to negotiate prices with them. But give somebody a chance, give a young girl an opportunity to come along with you and be an assistant so that you can show her the ropes. I just think that that's the way forward. And I spoke at the United Nations, and one of that speech was based on every woman and every grown woman and every young girl should have a mentor, because I've had mentors along the way. And I think that's my, and I think that I followed on. Somebody did for me what I'm doing for other people. And in being a mentor, young people will come to you and say, but at work they talk to me rough, or they want me to just make the tea. And I'll say, yeah, I had to make the tea too. It's not a problem to make the tea, just as long as in that day you've learned more than making the tea. Sometimes it's about positioning, and had I not positioned myself to do makeup for free sometimes, and this is what I want to let people know, that not every single thing that we did was for money. Sometimes it's the fact that they asked me, would you make up somebody who's celebrity, or would you, another makeup artist took me along with her, and it was Margaret Thatcher that was being made up that day. So that is on my portfolio, because I was the one putting on the powder and stuff, but it's on my portfolio. Do you see what I mean? So you need to know why you're doing something, and don't be in such a haste to be at the top of the ladder. There's so many people that are copying other people's portfolios and what they do, but you can copy words, but you have to be able to do the action, right?
Yeah.
So women helping women, sending the elevator back down, or passing the baton on. Those are my two key words, and that's what I'll be talking about at the Marriott in Bridgetown.
What date is it again?
8th, the 8th of a couple of weeks' time, the 8th of March.
Oh,
International
brilliant. Women's Day. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much for joining me today, sis. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I'm glad that we've kept in touch. And I'm glad that, we met, not only kept in touch, we met. Thank you, Stan, for the introduction. And we've kept in touch, and it's your fault that you are not in London so that you can keep in touch as well. But hey, it's nice, and it's nice of you to ask me to be on your podcast. It was a lovely talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sis. I look forward to catching up with you again soon. And you
Oh,
might see me at your event on the 8th of March. Just look out for me. I just might be there.
no, all right. Thank you so much, Bola.
And
Thank
I
you
would like
so
to thank my audience for joining us today. And I look forward to you joining us again. Now, I do want to say before we go, my book. This is the Daily Soul Bytes book. This is now on Kindle Select on Amazon. And it's really a book I wrote in 2020, sharing different perspectives of the divine's creative source. This is the higher perspectives that allows us to align much, much deeper with our own self. It's about self discovery. It's about really becoming much more empowered in the self that we truly are, in our true authentic selves. So I look forward to, having more and more people really connect with this book. And I also look forward to you joining me on the next episode of the Daily Soul Bites show. Bye bye.
much.